much. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second session in our Adulting 101 series. Tonight, we're focusing on personal finance and budgeting. We're really excited to have you with us. My name is Hope. I am the life design educator focused on student leadership and involvement, and I'm joined by two of my kind of colleagues in this effort, Kelly and Yadi. Do y'all want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, so my name is Kelly. I am the admin within the Life Design Lab. I'm also a quote unquote new adult. So if you have any questions, feel free to message me. I finished college in 2018, so I'm a little further out, but not that far out. So that is me, and I'm gonna pass it over to Yadi.
Hi everyone, I'm Yadi, or Yadi Rodriguez. I'm one of the peer managers at the Life Design Lab, and I've been working with Hope and Kelly to bring this wonderful series to everybody. And I'm really excited to see people here. And then in terms of being an adult, I'm still a Hopkins student, so I don't know if you can consider that within the adult world. So I am also here to learn from our wonderful speakers today.
And we're also just so grateful to partner with the senior class and the senior class council. So thank you to William. William, I'll pass it to you to say a few words before we dive in.
Hey guys, just wanted to thank all the seniors who showed up to this event. And it's just a quick reminder, stay for the full event and you will be entered for the raffle for the free AirPods. So thanks again.
Yeah, the more you come, the more tickets you earn for the AirPods. So we've got 2 more sessions left. Next Thursday is going to be on personal well-being and social life. And then our final session on the 22nd is going to be about taxes. Who doesn't need to know about that? So let's focus in on tonight's conversation. We've got Eric here with us to talk about personal finance and budgeting. Eric, I think you could do a better job of introducing yourself than I probably could. So if you could start us off by just sharing a little bit about yourself and how you found your way into the personal finance realm.
Great, Hope, thanks a lot. Hello, everybody, nice to meet you. I'm a financial advisor with Edward Jones. We are full service investment management and insurance group. I'm based out of Tampa, and I've got clients all over the country. I've been in finance my whole career. I studied finance and economics as an undergrad. I got my MBA. I've worked mostly in the mutual fund industry. My last job before here, let me back up. I've dealt with a lot of financial professionals nationwide. My last job before here, I literally worked on Wall Street, 40 Wall, and I headed up a group that advised large companies on investment portfolios, insurance companies, labor unions. I dealt with financial analysts, other MBAs, PhDs, chartered financial analysts, and literally it was 2 doors down across the street from the New York Stock Exchange. I've always liked this. I've always found it intriguing to see how people make money, how companies make money. I'm intrigued by how entrepreneurs come up with ideas and monetize those, meaning make a profit off of them. Certainly, good grief, in the last few years, I mean, just a plethora of wonderful, wonderful things that have happened, things that 15, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, you never would have heard of. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have heard of Uber Eats. Just simple stuff like that. But I just find that fascinating. I finally got off the road because I used to wake up every morning, go to the airport. That's how I went to work. And so I'm doing the same thing for individuals. The math that I use working with Northwest Mutual or the International Brotherhood of Electric Workers is the same math that I use for my little old ladies or my younger folks. I've got clients ranging from age 21, all the way up into, in their 90s. So and everything in between, all sizes, shapes, fears, hopes, dreams. And what I do for them is really simply this. I mean, I help them get from point A, where they are today, where they want to be, under a specific time constraint. I help their money achieve their goals, whatever it is, to buy a house, to retire, to educate their kids, to have just extra cash, whatever. And we do it so they can sleep at night. And I keep periodically check in with them, making sure that their goals are on track, because each and everybody that I deal with, for the most part, they have busy lives. Even my retirees have busy lives. And a lot of people don't share the zeal of investments that I do. They'd rather do anything but, which this is about. This is what I like to do. This relaxes me. So, so anyhow, with that going, Hope, I'll turn it back over to you, and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Great. I feel like you're just the right person to give us the advice that we're all looking for here. So you're looking at a room of a bunch of people who are about to graduate. So they've got about a month or so before they are done with their Hopkins experience, and then they're off to their next thing. And so one critical topic that we were hoping for you to talk about tonight is about budgeting. And so if you could start out just sharing a little bit about best practices around budgeting and what things they should be keeping in the front of their minds right now, that would be great.
Fantastic. Never a fun topic because it implies constraints. But here's the thing. Each of you has choices. Choices are always good to have. What you don't want is to show up in your later years, tired of the work routine, sick of doing whatever you want to do, but you got to keep working because the money's not there. You don't have choices. I had somebody come to me, I'm 66, I want to retire in 6 months. I thought it's about time I sit down with you and do a little financial planning, retirement planning. I looked at him, I said, what's the rush? You got 6 months. I mean, my goodness, here's the alternative. If you get serious with your budgeting, if you get serious, you're going to have choices. You want to retire at 50? Do you want to work until you're 90? Whenever you get out of the rat race, it's going to be your choice under your terms. Okay, that's the ultimate goal. I've got a lot of folks in their 20s and 30s. We're planning to get done by age 50. And there's a lot can happen between now and then. That's 30 years for some of my people. But at least we'll be able to make adjustments along the way. We'll be able to, you have to start somewhere. So you back it in. The more you have early on, the more you put away early on, the better you're going to be. The more you're going to have when you want to retire. And I'm gonna share a screen with you guys that illustrates the benefit of budgeting. And I am going to, let's see. I'm going to try to share my screen. Where is it? Can you see that?
We can't. Did you click the green share button in the middle of your toolbar at the bottom?
It said share the screen. Oh, share it. There we go.
Perfect.
You see it now?
Yep.
Okay.
We see where it says goals.
No, right here.
Brian Porter, goals.
Okay, that was just a sample. I wanted to pull this up. You see this thing, calculate to see chart?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to show you. We're going to go scenario 1. We're going to start with 0. And for those that like the math, for anybody that studied finance, this is a future value equation. You're going to do a contribution. How much are we going to do? We're going to do $500 a month. Why did I pick $500 a month? Because right now, as if you wanted to invest in a Roth IRA, and we'll talk about that, the maximum you can put in per year is $6,000. So divided by 12, that's $500 a month. And let's say, okay, so let's say you're 22 and you want to work till what? Let's do 35, roughly 35 years. So that gives you what, 57? And let's talk about an annual rate of return, roughly about 7%. Last year, I had clients in the 60 and 70%, and sometimes it's just ugly. And we are going to delay investing. You're gonna invest as soon as you get out there and get that first check. All right. Here's what you go: $500 a month turns into $855,707. That's if you just did that. That's not talking about any 401k. That's not talking about any inheritance. That's not talking about increasing your investment or anything. Okay. $855,700 a month. So let's do scenario 2. Same thing. We're going to start with 0. We're going to do 500. We are going to delay our investment 32 years, but we're going to get off at age 57. Or we're going to delay our investment 3 years. Okay. And the reason we're going to do that, it's like I was in your shoes one time, believe it or not. I mean, I was tired of being poor. Never had any money, you know. You work through school, you work summer jobs, you know, you eating pizza, eating ramen, eating garbage, you know, and it's like, I want to have a little fun. I'm finally getting paid. You know, let's go buy a car. Let's, you know, is that too much to ask? I got my whole lifetime in front of me. So let's just say we congratulated ourselves for 3 years. Everything else stays the same. Look at your chart. Your 855,000 goes to 540,000. If you delay investing for 3 years, your cost of waiting is $141,579. I lead with that because you have a choice. All right. So how do you budget? The first thing you do is you pay yourself, because if you get used to paying yourself, you're never going to miss it. And paying yourself can be a variety of different things. It can be, for those of you that go into the corporate world, you can join your 401k. They take the money right out of your check. You never see it. For those that work for nonprofits or universities or the government, it's going to be a 403b. Same thing. They'll take it out. You're never going to see it. Oftentimes, these companies will give you a match. How stinking cool. If they give you a match, you know, you put in 2% and they match 50% of that. That's free money. It's just like finding a penny on the parking lot. You're a winner. So you'll make sure you don't see it. That's the best way to do it. Put it in your budget. You're going to have bills. You're going to have your apartment bill. You're going to have to pay your power. You're going to have to put gasoline. You have to pay off any credit card. Put that in there. Whatever the number is. I used $500 just because it's something that's common. It's a common number for each of us on the call. This is the maximum amount you can put in on a monthly basis to hit your annual Roth contribution. At Edward Jones, we have a tool that some of the younger investors find very handy. It's where their paycheck, the net amount of their paycheck, comes into this income organizer. It's a tool that we have at Edward Jones where we put in your budget and everything there, and we automatically send you out to your bank or wherever you want it, a set amount of money that we agree to, that you want to, you know, for spending and having a little fun. We can set it up to pay your bills, and the rest of it is invested. So, you know, getting to this kind of line, it's not an accident. You know, the example I had with a guy coming into my office and said he wanted to retire in 6 months. No, I mean, he was dealing with about 140 grand. And I had to work hard I solved the puzzle, but he was going to be coming in on fumes. He wasn't going to have a lot of extra cash. But if I'm you, I'd rather have the 855. That's just me. So I use that as an example to show you the power of money. Does anybody have any questions on this before I shut it down? No? All right. Okay. So I would just back into where you want to be. You can get a financial calculator. They're online. You can see what you want to have at a particular time. You can work with a financial professional if math isn't your thing, or if you want a second opinion, and go from there.
Yeah, I have a question here.
Sure.
So you're saying that 500 a month is the maximum that we can put aside. What about if you put more than 500?
Well, this is for a Roth IRA. A Roth IRA is an IRA where you put in money after you pay tax. And I really recommend it. It's the greatest thing since you name it, sliced bread, Beats headphones, whatever. I mean, it's wonderful stuff. And this grows. And especially at your age, it grows and grows and grows because this money you've already paid tax on it. The beauty is when you take it out for retirement, it's tax-free for the rest of your life. How cool is that? So you want to get that thing as fat as you can. It's the last money you want to touch. But the rules are, everybody's like, oh, that's a great deal. Let's put a lot of money in this right now. The government says, no, you can put up to $6,000 a year. So what I did is I took the 6,000 divided by 12 months, and that's how I got $500. Okay. Once you get up to age 50, they let you do 7,000. It's called a catch-up provision.
Okay, so what about if I already have I think it's IRA, and then I wanted to move it to the Roth?
Well, you could do both. The income, you're capped at income, and I think the current cap is you can make no more than $117,000 a year to do your IRA contributions, which whether you do a Roth or a traditional is going to be $6,000. Now, if you want to participate in a company's 401k or something like that, you can do that. Anything like that, if you have specific questions, I'd talk to a tax advisor, especially tuned into your specific case, to make sure that you don't run afoul of anything, because you don't want to get in trouble with the IRS. And the third thing you can do is you can just start putting as much money as you want away. It won't be tax sheltered, but you can put it into a regular brokerage account. And there's no limit on that, just as much as you want to save. Does that answer your question?
Yes, you did. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So Eric, you touched on this briefly, and thank you so much for the chart. I think it's really helpful to understand that in your budget, you should already kind of calculate a line item where you're paying yourself, and that is just a part of your monthly routine. But you also touched on the part of like, hey, it's been hard. It'll be nice to have a paycheck, and the temptation to want to maybe have a lot of fun, spend money on things you haven't been able to do. So how do you balance, and this is actually a question from someone in the senior class, how do you balance current happiness with your budgeting kind of in the real time? How do you make sure that you can still enjoy yourself and have fun, but make sure you're also saving for other things?
Well, I mean, yeah, you're living life. This shouldn't be drudgery, I would think, but it depends on how you define happiness. Some people, I meet a lot of different people. I talk to a ton of people. I enjoy talking to people. I find them interesting and their stories interesting. What makes them happy, what makes them, if you ask them, how do you know when you're successful or whatever? You get a gazillion different answers. Some people are going to say, I'd rather get the $855,000, but I want to retire at I'm 45, so it'd make me very happy. So therefore, I'm going to have fun, but I don't need to spend massive amounts of money to do so. Other people say, you know what? I like doing things that are a little bit of fun. Fantastic. Do them. Enjoy yourself. This shouldn't be drudgery. But I would continue to, regardless of what tack you take, check your budget, make sure you're on it, make sure that your fun can kind of get away from you. You find that you really enjoy this and think, oh, maybe I'll load up. Depends what's important to you. If you plan to work until you're age 80, hey, have a lot of fun. Not a big deal. But if you want to retire when you're 45 and launch a second career or do some volunteer work or whatever floats your boat, butters your bread, what have you, I mean, factor it into your plan. And again, what I do with people is everybody gets a financial plan as part of the process. It doesn't cost a dime. It's part of the roadmap because everybody's got a different story. We factor in, when do we want this stuff in? Okay, we're talking $500 a month here. Is it down the road? We're going to assume you're going to get raises and maybe we're going to put $750 in, $500 for the Roth and $250 for something else. I've got people budgeting for vacations. I got people budgeting for second homes, even retirement. Depends what you want for retirement. I've got one couple, they live in the US. They want to go rent a place for 6 months in a nice country, places where you and I would want to meet or visit. And that's going to take quite a bit of capital. Another guy I talked to, he owns a trucking company. He wants to retire and buy some acreage in South Georgia and fish. That's what would make him happy. As you can imagine, the capital requirements for those two goals are quite different, and the path to getting to those goals are quite different. So it's not a straitjacket. And if all else fails, chart out on a path. And if you're having too much fun, you can always pull it back. If you don't feel like you're having much fun, you can let out a little leash. Find out what works for you.
That's such important advice, especially figuring out what works for you in different moments, I think is really critical as well. I'm going to pass it over to Serena. Serena has a question for you, Eric.
All right.
Hi, thank you. I was just wondering, figuring out like a goal for retirement overall. So between your Roth IRA, your 401k, any kind of saving or investing, how do you come up with that like total number you should be aiming for?
Well, it's I can only speak with my clients because what we do, Edward Jones has a very good tool to help us out with that. And so as I tell people, I ask a lot of questions. I take a lot of measurements because I tell people, once you come out of my tailor shop here, you're going to have a custom made suit or dress. Nobody walks in with anything off the rack because everybody on this call has unique set of fingerprints. Everybody has unique set of financial needs. When I'm building portfolios for my clients, they're tailor made. No two of my clients have the same investment portfolio. That's what I do. I have that ability. I like to do it. There are others that puts them in a one size fits all and whatever. That's their issue. But so I'll take a lot of, we do a real simple risk tolerance test. 6 questions. There's no right or wrong answer. Tell me how you feel. And it tells me what is too much risk, what is not enough risk. Because while no investment is inherently bad, it's bad for you if you can't sleep. Second, we'll take your financial information. How much are you earning? Are you getting any other income? You got a side gig? Or you got an inheritance? What are your bills? What's your outgo? How much are you putting away for retirement? Do you have any insurance? Blah, 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 blah. And we're able to put those two things in our into a financial plan, and it's a really complex algorithm. So what it'll do, and we'll look at, when do you want to retire? When do you want to, do this, that, and the other thing? And it'll calculate inflation. It'll calculate you living till age 90 or 95. But I'm going to ask you about your family tree. How old did your parents? Are your parents still alive? How old were they when they passed? Grandparents, whatever. I don't make assumptions. I met a lady that at one of my networking deals, and I mean, she was a physical mess. I mean, just a physical mess. Found out her mother and her grandmother were physical messes. They lived to be 107, 109 years respectively. So I'm going to crank that out, make sure it's like these people have long genetics. Flip side is, when I used to work in Miami, I had a guy that he was the poster child for eating right. And it's like, man, you're really fastidious about this. He goes, all my dad, my grandfather, they all dropped dead early. This guy was a picture healthy, dead at 52. So we're going to plan on you not outliving your money. In a perfect world, the perfect retirement's when the check to the mortuary bounces, but we can't thread the needle that precisely. And then also the programs the algorithm will look at stress test a lot of different market events. What could go wrong? Could it be a boom? Could it be a bust? Could it be a war? Could there be a nuclear event? Whatever, just really stress test the market. What could go wrong? And it comes out with a probability that you're going to reach your goal, in this case of retirement. Now, if it comes out nicely, fantastic, here's our plan. If it doesn't come out the way we want, there are certain adjustments we can look at, that we can examine to see if they work for you and see if we work for the plan. We get you over the finish line. So it's a pretty complex deal. Serena, it's not something you're not going to be able to sit on the back of a napkin and really go down to the 9th decimal point and find that out. But what you can do, have your budget, we can find your salary, know what you want it to be. We can aggregate a growth. We can estimate Social Security. We can tell me when you want to retire. We can, as long as we have some of these parameters there, we can fill in and examine different outcomes. In this case, for you, nobody else, just you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for that. So I'd like to turn to another question that came in from the senior class, which was around selecting a checking or a savings account. So, as you're starting to think about your budgeting and as you're, maybe making one of your first paychecks, it's really helpful to have, a financial institution that you trust, or that you have accounts that you can, utilize easily to do all of this. And so the question was, what do you pay attention to? How do you go about deciding which checking or savings account to use? Are there pros or cons or things that you should look out for when you're making that decision?
Great question. It used to be real easy. You look who's paying the most interest. Nobody pays interest hardly anymore. You can't, at least if they do, it's hard to see with the naked eye. So I think the first cut of the deck is what do you want your bank to do for you? Do you use ATMs? Do you use the branch? Do you travel a lot? Do you prefer to do everything online? Do they have an online presence? Do you want to just take pictures of checks and deposit them that way? What, in a perfect world, what do you want to do? And you can certainly look that up online. There's plenty of commercials on TV that talk to those, and then you back into it. What's it going to cost? And you can ask any of these people, what's it going to cost? A lot of these banks don't have, or they have minimal or non-existent fees. One of the big ways to get the best fee or no fee is they love direct deposited checks. So if you get your first job, you get a check, have a direct deposit to your bank, boom, they love that. they, because it's a sticky client, because people are going to say that's a hassle. It's a hassle to move. So they'll try to sell you all this other stuff, throw you a credit card, but they give you different points for all the services you use. But that was a big one. I was using a bank because I traveled all the place. I needed to have an ATM and everywhere, so I wasn't getting charged extra ATM fees. A lot of these banks, if you don't use their ATM fees, they're gonna charge you a couple dollars. And I don't know, it sounds like only a couple dollars, but I got news for you. If it's a couple dollars laying on the parking lot, are you gonna pick it up? I sure as heck will. So that's a way to, again, getting back to the budgeting and the discretionary spending of impulse buying. Is that significant money? Would I stoop to pick that up in a parking lot? If it is, it's probably pretty important money. Probably pretty important money. Everybody's going to have a different number. So you have banks, you've got credit unions. A little bit different. Banks, let me back up too. They're going to insure your deposits up to $250,000 FDIC insurance, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Came a result of the Great Depression in the 20s. Credit unions are member-owned financial institutions, okay? They're not banks, they're credit institutions. They don't have FDIC. They've got an equivalent. It's an FDIC for credit unions, and quite frankly, off the top of my head, the acronym escapes me. The differences are dealing with people. They're generally really, they're not so clinical, institutional. They're really pretty down to earth, nice people. Number two, if they're going to pay interest, you generally get a little better interest. Three, if you're going to, down the road borrow for a car, you can go through your credit union. You probably get a little better interest rate than you could at the car dealer or a bank. So it's again, what do you plan on using? But go in and talk to both of them, see what works for you. Some of them, you need a location close to where you live. Some of them, it doesn't matter. So, but those are some of the questions I certainly would ask.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there any more questions about checking and savings accounts before I move on?
So I had a question. I don't know if it's yeah. So as we see, checkings and savings accounts barely provide any interest, right?
Some of them can.
Okay. So my question really was that there are other options that provide better interest rate, which are also very liquid. So is it preferable to choose other options? I don't know, such as you can invest in stocks and you can immediately cash out. And,
yeah, you can immediately cash out in stocks, but you have to wait for the trades to settle. And what that means, okay, let's say you own a particular stock and you decide to sell. There's some back office things that happen. So the money won't hit your account for another 2 days. It takes 2 days to settle, and the money will be in your account 3 days later. Also, if you need to write a check, I know checks are so 80s, but you can't write checks off of those. There are some types of accounts that we do have where you can write checks and they come with debit cards and all that happy stuff. But as any kind of general rule of thumb, you're going to want to keep some money liquid. You go to the grocery store, you need some liquid cash. You put gas in your car. You want to keep money. Build up a safety cushion. What you're going to find out is you get older and you start getting more stuff. And I'm just going to go for my deal. I started out and I moved into an apartment, and then I ended up getting married and moved into a bigger apartment, got more stuff, and then I got the first home, and that came with stuff. For sticker shock was taking my first trip to Home Depot for all these things I didn't know I need, but you need a ladder to change light bulbs. Ladders are expensive. You need light bulbs. Those are expensive. And you need stuff. So do I need a ladder each and every day, each and every week, like I need to go to Publix or, the grocery store? No. So you want to keep some kind of money for an emergency thing. Things break in houses, water heaters break, the roof starts leaking, your car, something funky goes with it, and it's going to cost you more than just a tune-up. So you want to keep some things there, and your long-term money, and I'm thinking long-term, anything you think you're going to need within 2.5 to 3 years, that's the kind of stuff you want to look at investing at long-term. Okay. Kind of stagger that out.
Thank you for your question. So for many of us on the call, taking out loans was a part of our college experience and will quickly become something that, will need to be a part of the budget and will need to be repaid. And so we're wondering if you have any advice or thoughts around how to approach loan repayment and including that in your budget and your financial planning.
Well, certainly you got to pay your loans. Because you've seen the commercials about credit score. Geez, when I was a kid, people shake your hand, look in your eye, thought you were an honest person, they give you a loan, but now nobody trusts anybody, so they do credit scores. And to having higher credit scores get you lower interest rates, because a lower interest rate means you're less of a risk of default. So you want to make sure you pay your loans. Now, I've got to admit, I'm not up to on the student loan thing. I did 3 weeks ago, believe it or not, speak to, we have Johns Hopkins Hospital down here, and I spoke to a bunch of OBGYN resident physicians, and they asking about their student loans. I think they were getting, I don't know, 5 or 6%, but they had to pay. But, you just, you could refinance them, I guess, but then it takes away some of your tax benefit. I don't know. That's something that it's out of my purview, but that's, let's just have the reality. You're paying X amount of dollars a month for a loan, but you want a car payment. You're probably not going to go out and get a Ferrari for your first car. You're going to get something else where the new car payment fits the budget. You got to have a car to get back to work, and we all will throw our mask away one day and go back to work, and life will go on as normal. And then once that loan is paid off, it's going to free up some cash. It's going to free up some cash to buy a house, to invest, whatever. So it is a thing about cash flow. And let me extend this one extra thing, not just to paying student loans. Let's just say you have loans in general. Let's just say you're one of these things. I remember when I was in undergrad, credit card companies used to send us stuff all the time. It's like they want to get you hooked, Oh, spend it, it's easy. And pretty soon, people I knew that they were in way over their head, and it's like, where do I start first? Everybody thought they'd pay the minimum. There's two schools of thought. Some people say go for the attack the highest interest rate first. I would suggest, and that you can make, that's a defendable argument. The other one is, I would go after the lowest balance first, because each of these loans, especially credit cards, they're going to have a minimum. And let's just say all the minimums are $30 a month. So if you take the smallest credit card and get that, pay minimums on the bigger ones, focus any extra cash on the smaller one, knock that one out, then you've got that capital plus the $30 minimum that you don't have to pay on that credit card. Rinse and repeat, go to the next smallest one. And pretty soon, it's like how to eat an elephant, just one bite at a time, and you get out of debt pretty quick. It's a cash flow game. So where does the cash comes into your household? You have to manage it to make sure you keep the most amount of cash after all your bills are paid. That's the end game. So hopefully that helps.
It does. I'm going to ask one more question. So just want to prime everyone in the audience. If you have questions that you'd like to pose to Eric, please feel free to go ahead and raise your virtual hand, or you can send it to me in the chat. I'm happy to ask for you. So just get those wheels turning. So Eric, last question. You've given us some great advice already, but just wondering if there is any other advice or tools or strategies that you would recommend to ensure that the audience is in a good position for long-term financial wellness?
Yeah, there's a couple things you can do. There's gets back to budgeting. There's an author, Bach. He's been on Oprah. I met him before. I used to do business with him before he was famous. He used to be a financial advisor in San Francisco. He lives in New York now. He's written a series of books, Smart Women Finish Rich, Smart Couples Finish Rich, Smart fill in the blank, left-handed pogo stick jumpers finish rich. And it's about budgeting, and he does things like one of the big excuses, geez, I'll invest with you, but I don't have the money. And so you got to find the money. And I remember one of his anecdotes is something called the latte factor. So he asked this person, can't find any money. Yeah, I'm strapped. Budget is tight. Okay. Tell me about where you work. I work at wherever. You like what you do? Yeah. How long you been doing it for? Whatever. Do they give you breaks? Yeah, we get breaks at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. What do you do in your break? Well, I go to the local coffee shop or go to Starbucks or whatever. What do you get? Just a cup of regular black coffee? Of course not. You get the triple double latte woo woo with all kinds of pyrotechnics that go with it. How much does that cost? It's a lot more than a straight cup of coffee. I don't even know what they cost. That it? Oh no. I get one of those, those muffins they sell. It's about the size of a doghouse. Oh, how much are those? And I think they're what, about $5-6? I don't know. So the morning coffee break is $10 and the afternoon coffee break is $10, $20. So his suggestion is, why don't you, get your coffee, but bring a snack with you. Bring a piece of fruit or make your own muffins. You see what I'm saying? You just found $5 a shot. That's $10 a day times 5 days. That's $50 a week. Times 20 days in the month, there's an extra 1,000 times a year. It's 12 grand. Boom. And how much to fund your Roth? Only 6. So you got 6 left over. Let's have some fun with it. So it's those types of things. Just practical, different stories, how people did it. There's no right or wrong answer, but it's just a nice, easy way to break it down. And again, is ask yourself, is this a necessity or is it, a luxury? And when I was talking to answering Serena's question about, we ask about all your expenses. We'll ask about that question. Are they luxury items or not? Paying the electric bill is a necessity. Buying X amount of dollars for birthday and Christmas gifts. Yeah, you want to do it, but you can play with that number. Or going on your annual cruise. That's a discretionary. So, if it's mission critical, you're going to get evicted. Your lights are going to be turned out. Your water's going to be turned out. You're going to get in trouble with any lenders. That's mission critical. If it's really no consequences, it's just extra, it's a nice to have, but not a need to have, that's discretionary. That's discretionary. Is everybody good on difference between stocks and bonds, mutual funds, ETFs? You hear about these a lot, know what those are, what they do, how they can fit in?
I heard about it.
I didn't catch.
I think people are eager to hear.
Okay. Okay, real simple. Stock and a bond, you're either an owner or an ower. When you buy shares of stock, you own a portion of that company. They give you voting rights. If the company pays a dividend, they'll pay you a dividend. Okay. That That is a stock. Well, I should back up. There's three types of investments. Bonds, there's a capital structure, bonds, preferreds, and then common stock. Common stock's on the bottom. What I mean on the bottom, if let's just say we were talking about Starbucks. We have Starbucks stock. Starbucks goes bankrupt. The bondholders get paid first. The preferred shareholders get paid second. If there's anything else left over, the common stockholders will get paid third. Common stock is generally where you make all your money because it's a higher risk, but it's a higher reward. But you own a piece of the company. Now, let's say Starbucks has some bonds out there and you buy a Starbucks bond. What are you doing? You're lending them money. You're lending their money and they're going to pay you interest twice a year for oftentimes it's 30 years, okay? You don't get rich off of bonds, but historically the bonds protect you from becoming poor. The reason is bonds act differently than stocks. They're differently correlated. You want things that are differently correlated. I've got bags under my eyes today. I've been up early repositioning investment portfolios because the market is moving. The stuff that I was minting money with last year, it's not as exciting this year, and I don't want to take that kind of risk, so I'm repositioning things. So that's a stock and a bond. Are we all good there? Any questions? Okay. So then here's what's interesting. If there's any financial people out there, there was a guy you've read about in your textbooks named Harry Markowitz. Harry Markowitz back in the 50s won a Nobel Peace Prize that he basically proved, and nobody has disproved him since then, that 91.5% of your investment returns are based upon the alchemy, the asset allocation. Asset allocation, I have foreign, domestic, big companies, small companies, whatever, growth, value, versus security selection. Security selection, buying Starbucks stock, buying Apple stock, okay? So what can go wrong with a particular stock? Well, let's say Starbucks, we see this all the time in the news. The CEO somebody takes a video of him, or there's, he or she's doing something bad, then it blows up in their face and the stock plummets, and there's headline risk, okay, with that. Or if that particular, what happens if Starbucks goes bankrupt? I mean, then you're standing in the line waiting for the scraps. Pete's, on the other hand, maybe still be going really, really strong. So we don't have to worry about that. What can go wrong? We diversify. We buy more than one. And there's different things to do, different ways to do that. We buy containers of securities. There's two types of containers in general. There's the exchange traded fund. Exchange traded fund is called that because they're traded on exchanges just like a stock would be. You can buy it. Oh, and I should say stocks and bonds, you can buy it and sell it any day. You get the price at which you buy or sell, no matter what time it is, okay? So if you sell a Starbucks stock at 203, that's the price you get at 203. If you buy it at 9:54 in the morning, that's the price you get at 9:54 in the morning. So very, very liquid. ETFs, exchange traded funds, commonly called ETFs, are packages of those. And what you can do are find themes. The packages of themes are like, you could buy, I mean, there's gazillions of these things. You could buy all technology stocks in an ETF. You may have read about that, Kathy, what's her face, with ARK. She made over 100% last year. It's all tech stocks. You could buy the S&P 500. You could buy all the stocks in Japan, just whatever you want to be. You can buy bonds in there too. There's going to be bonds. It could be the total market of bonds. Vanguard does a lot of these things. Okay, you've heard of iShares, possibly Spiders. iShares are BlackRock. Spiders are sponsored by State Street Bank. So what those do, they'll have anywhere from oftentimes 20 to thousands of holdings. And you own, by owning that ETF, you own a fraction of everything that's in there. Okay? Some pay dividends, some don't. Other ways, and typically they're not managed. They're usually baskets of unmanaged stocks, but there can be some that'll be rebalanced, or in some cases they're starting to get active managers, but in general, they're not really actively managed. You get into mutual funds, a third type of container. This is a little different. You can buy a mutual fund any particular time of day, but you receive pricing one time a day. That's the end of the market, end of the day. It's called net asset value. So if you buy it at 9:54 in the morning or 2:18 p.m., you're both going to get the same price. Okay, and that's because how the accounting goes. They have to look at all the inflows, the outflows, and the changes of the stocks or the securities in there, and do some long division. They come out to net asset value. These also can be 100% stock, 100% bonds. They can be a mixture. They can be domestic, foreign, whatever. But the difference is these are actively managed. You have people that do nothing but agonize over their particular mutual fund, okay, to make sure that they're doing the very best job they can given what the markets and the economic environment's giving them. So they're working for you. What should you own? I own them both. I own them all. Depends what you want your money to do for you. And that's where you sit down with a financial advisor to consider what's your goal, how often is this going to be traded, just a lot of different questions you're going to be asked. And they're going to say, okay, given what you're talking about, this is probably a better vehicle for you. It's going to be the least expensive. It's going to be the cheapest way for you to go. It's the most effective, whatever. Okay. So you don't have to stress over that. But, my previous life before I lived like 2.5 miles away from where I work. I used to go to the airport, and I could be on an airplane, a major market movement, and I wouldn't know what happened. I couldn't do anything about it. So I was in a lot of mutual funds where they're managing the money for me. And I didn't have to know about it or be proactive. So that's the benefit of those things. But the financial industry's been remarkable in coming through with different things to different ways to help people with their individual investments. Recently, you're hearing a third wave of stuff with Robinhood and the Reddit crew. The Reddit crew, a couple of those people are going to see what the inside of a prison looks like, bless their hearts. It's called market manipulation. You can't do that. There are some things that, I've got a 22-year-old guy, he has some mad money in Robinhood. And I said, what do you like about it? Well, it's free. It's like, well, you don't have to pay a cost, but they're taking cost out of your investments. Long story, but nothing's ever free. Always remember that. Nothing of value, I should say, is ever free. And the other thing I find with the do-it-yourselfers, and there's some that are very good at it. I'm not poo-pooing it, but I get paid at the crux to think about what could go wrong. And so somebody comes to me, oh, I want to buy X amount of stock. Okay, fantastic. How'd you come up on that stock? Tell me about it. What do you know about the stock? I have some people very, very prepared. They have their case. This is why I want to buy it. Fantastic. When's your sell signal? How do you know when is enough? When are you going to sell it? And I get the There's an old adage on Wall Street, pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. And it's oftentimes better to get out a little early versus trying to squeeze the last nickel out of a stock before it corrects or something bad happens. And you see that each and every day. So I asked them those questions. If they can answer those things, fantastic. Do it yourself. You shouldn't pay me if you're capable and have the time of doing those types of things. But but that's what they are. But you know, I'll give you another one too. You're going to be starting to commute back to your job. Many of you are going to live in big cities and you're going to get frustrated at traffic. Smile. All these people are going to work, probably at companies that you own through mutual funds. They could be going to Walmart. They could be going to Pfizer. They could be going to Starbucks. And all these people are going to go to work. And what do? They try to work harder and do a great job. I've never met anybody who says, I'm going to go to work and really stink today. They're going to do a great job because they want a promotion, they want a raise, or both. And when they get a promotion or a raise, it's because they brought more revenue into the company. And that revenue, you'll see in the financial papers, is called earnings. Earnings drive stock price. The more earnings, the higher the stock price in general. So it's a beautiful thing. You want those roads to be choked. They're all going to work to help you because you own these companies if you own the stock. And if you own the bond, it's going to provide these companies with earnings so that they make sure that they pay you your interest and principal when it's due. How cool is that?
Eric, this has all been so helpful. We're almost up at 6 o'clock, but we did have one question about, I think you convinced us with your chart that opening a Roth IRA is important. How do you do that? Real quick before we run off, what do we do to open one up?
Well, you can open it, with somebody like me, it's real easy. It's a document that classifies any money as a Roth IRA. Is going to make sure your money is tax deferred. What you're going to need to know though is, for anybody that may have a partner or married, you can't, I get people come to me, I want my husband to be on this Roth too. You can't, it's only one person. It's yours, it's private. You're the only customer here, all right? You can put, in this case, I want my husband to be on it. Your husband can be the primary beneficiary. So in other words, the wife passes, 100% of the money goes to the husband, avoids probate, saves money that way. And you can name contingent beneficiaries. What if the husband dies before the wife, or what if they both die in a car crash? Who gets the money then? The kids or other relatives, etc. You can put anything in a Roth. I mean, technically you can go to a bank or a credit union, they'll open a Roth, you can put a CD in there. You're not going to make any money, but you can do that. It's even the online investing, for those of you that choose to do something like Vanguard, you can do it. It'll just click a few buttons. It's but you're going to need your tax ID, your social security and address and all that stuff. It's pretty basic. Anybody has any questions, they can call me about anything personal. I'll give you my phone number. It's 813-661-7125. Again, 813-661-7125. So I'm happy to help people with getting started out, because people did the same thing to me when I got started out. Like I said, I just started another guy about a month ago. He's 21 and he's doing, talk about the minimum. What's the minimum account size? I can open an account for as low as $250. And then a lot of times this particular guy, he doesn't have much money, $250, and he's doing $50 a month. But I mean, the guy will be a millionaire by the time he hangs them up, because he's starting early. He's starting early. So that's the biggest gift you can do for yourself. I've got the people come to me, and because what happens, the 20s, you're paying off your loans. The 30s, you're getting married. The 40s, you're having your kids, and the kids are expensive little hobbies, you'll find out. The 50s, you're like, holy cow, we got to get them to college, and that's expensive. In the 60s, it's like, holy cow, we're almost dead. We got to start planning for retirement. Where does it go? We laugh, but that's what happens. So the earlier you can get started, the better it's going to be.
Thank you so much, Eric. This has been really insightful, and we really appreciate you taking the time to connect with us
problem.
this evening.
Good
Y'all,
luck.
I put his email or his phone number in the chat, so if you would like a follow-up call, please give him a call. Also, drop his LinkedIn. I think I have that. There we go. And so if you want to connect with Eric on LinkedIn, feel free to do so. But again, Eric, thank you so much. We have 2 more sessions next Thursday and then Thursday the 22nd. So we hope to see you at another session. Have a good night.
Awesome. Good night.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Eric, thank you so much. I took,
Oh, I think he ran away.
I took so many notes.
I know, me too. I was like, let me write down some of the nuggets.
How have I already lost more money than I'm worth as a person by earlier?
Hold on, how do I stop recording?
Like sell every single thing I own.
I think Kelly has to.
Yeah, Kelly, I think you have to stop recording.
Yes.